Mr. Secretary General, I want to thank you so much. That was a very candid assessment of both the challenges and the opportunities that we face here. I have to tell you, from somebody who looks at this and monitors it on a daily basis, watching what business is doing, watching where the needs are and where the opportunities are, it really gives me a lot to think about, to be at a panel like this, to be at a discussion, a lunchtime discussion for this. I think what's so amazing is you realize 2030 is only 13 years away. We have made massive progress, but there is so much room to still continue that. And I think that what we're watching here is really the best in action, where you have these public-private partnerships and people who can match up on so many levels. We have been very fortunate to get the chance to look at all of these issues. And folks, right now, I want to introduce someone who has more on all these challenges and the opportunities to meet it. The 45th Vice President of the United States, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, the author and environmental activist, Mr. Al Gore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What an honor it is to be here with all of you. We just concluded the meeting downstairs, we meet at an interesting time to talk about this challenge. Interesting, hi Lisa. We meet at an interesting time for a number of reasons. The Paris Agreement was and is now a spectacular success. It inspires the hope in all of our hearts that we really are going to win this struggle to solve the climate crisis. I do believe we are winning, we are gaining on the problem, but we should be very clear-eyed about how serious the challenge is and how much progress we still have to make. Today, we will once again put 110 million tons of man-made global warming pollution into the Earth's atmosphere, as we do every day, using the sky as an open sewer. The accumulation of man-made global warming pollution that resides there now traps as much extra heat energy every day as would be released by 400,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every 24 hours. It is a big planet, but that's an enormous amount of energy. And more than 90% of it is going into the oceans. The air temperatures, of course, are breaking records year after year. 16 of the 17 hottest years have been since 2000, as you know. And the continuation of these temperature increases threatens the ecological system of our planet upon which the flourishing of humanity depends. We meet in the immediate aftermath of two more record-breaking hurricanes. 2 weeks ago, Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, Texas, the center of the global petrochemical industry, with 5-day downpours that have been calculated as a once in 25,000 year event. Last year, there was another once in 1,000 year downpour in Houston. This is the third year in a row there has been a once in 500 year flood. In parts of Texas, the downpours were once in 500,000 year events. We are leaving the boundaries of history as we have known history and entering a new age. But because of the Paris Agreement and because of efforts leading up to the Paris Agreement, we have seen global emissions stabilize for 3 years in a row. Now, a word of warning before we take too much optimism from that success. Even though emissions have stabilized, the accumulation of greenhouse gases has continued to increase. Why? My mentor 45 years ago, the legendary scientist Roger Revelle, discovered a factor named after him, the Revell factor, that shows as the oceans warm up, they absorb less CO2. There is the beginning of some outgassing from the thawing of the Arctic tundra. The scientists are trying to understand why the accumulation is increasing, but those are the leading suspects. So we know that we have to make further progress. We have many assets, we have many advantages. In the wake of Paris, not only has virtually every nation in the world joined the Paris Agreement, but business, industry, investors, state and regional governments, local governments, especially cities, have moved forward aggressively. Former Mayor Mike Bloomberg has played a key role. The Governor of California, Jerry Brown, has played a key role. So many others have played a key role. Big companies like Apple and Google in the United States and companies elsewhere in the world are pointing the way as well. We also have an advantage from technology. We are blessed in this new era with technology cost down curves. Sounds like a geeky phrase, but it's one we're all familiar with. We've lived with the stunning consequences of Moore's Law, but now we see that same phenomena with solar electricity and wind electricity. And now the efficiency and affordability of a new generation of batteries. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology reported 2 weeks ago on a new generation of batteries that are now outperforming gas-fired peaking generators for filling the gaps in intermittent energy from solar and wind. And like solar and wind electricity, the batteries are also continuing to come down in cost. Last year in the US, 75% of all of the new electricity generating capacity was from solar and wind. Globally, since the year 2010, investments in new energy generating capacity from renewables has far exceeded that devoted to fossil fuels. We are seeing a tremendous transformation. And as renewable energy plays an increasing role and batteries fill the gap, it is important to focus on the transportation sector, which is being transformed by the introduction of electric vehicles. I wish every country would follow the leadership of India. Since the Paris Agreement, India has announced that within only 13 years, 100% of all their new cars and trucks will have to be electric vehicles. Denmark and Norway have set the goal not of 2030, but 2025. Even Germany has announced, even as their elections approach, that this is the right direction for Germany as well. China has announced that it will also put in place this transformative requirement, although they have not yet set the exact date of that transformation. So we are seeing tremendous progress. The United States of America caused some stir, of course, with the withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. I see the Secretary of Commerce here, and there may be other representatives of the Trump administration here. I hope that the correct way to interpret the recent news reports is that after a series of discussions, the United States will lower its ambition stated in Paris, but remain in the Paris Agreement. But whether that happens or not, U.S. states and cities and businesses and industries are moving forward, and the projections now indicate that the United States will meet the commitments that it made at Paris, whether it is affirmed by the federal government or not. The Secretary General, ironically, is meeting to help raise funds for the relief of the victims of Hurricane Irma, which became in the ocean a storm that broke the record set just a few years ago in the Philippines by Super Typhoon Haiyan, or Yolanda, as it is designated in the Philippines. These storms are increasing in strength because the oceans are getting warmer. Their devastation increases because the melting ice is raising sea level, because the warmer air holds more moisture, and we get a disruption of the water cycle with these continuing record downpours. We're seeing devastating droughts. We are seeing the damage to crop yields. We are seeing diseases move into new latitudes as the vectors that carry them are finding new climate homes that were not friendly to them in the past. We are seeing other forms of devastation, and we are seeing many of them contribute to the outmigration of climate refugees, as has occurred in the Eastern Mediterranean. We are seeing predictions now that some parts of the Middle East and North Africa are unfortunately predicted to become uninhabitable. We must make faster progress. And the key is in this room, because as Paris showed us, the non-state actors and the subnational governmental actors can continue moving the world forward ever more quickly. So I am optimistic. I congratulate the new leadership of the United Nations on the progress that is being made already. In closing, I want to encourage everyone to look forward to the Conference of Parties in Berlin not too many weeks from now, and especially to the Conference of the Parties next year in 2018, when there will be a global stock taking. Mr. Secretary General, thank you for taking hold of this issue, and for your leadership, and the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, Patricia Espinosa, who has taken over from the capable Christiana Figueres, and the entire team. For those who doubt that we can succeed in this challenge, always remember that political will is itself a renewable resource. Thank you very much.